So I think I am. Good. Might need to check a little bit more. Good evening and welcome to the September the 7th, 2021 meeting of the Surry County Board of Commissioners. I hope everyone had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, celebrated all our workers around America, those of us that are working. So, hope everyone had a great weekend and had some beautiful weather. And hope everyone stays healthy and pray that this COVID gets away from us as soon as we can. We have some special guests in the audience tonight, and I'm going to look to Commissioner Goins to recognize. I was introduced to all of them, but it was too many names. So Bill's around them right much, so I'm going to let him introduce all of them. Thank you for your fine work.
We have Chris Lumsden, CEO of Northern Regional Hospital, Bill Waltz, Chairman of the Board of Trustees for the hospital, and Vaughn, member of the Board of Trustees, Doug Cook, member of the Board of Trustees, Phil Snow, member of the Board of Trustees, Tom Riggs, member of the Board of Trustees, Brian Beasley, Vice President of Operations and Human HR. Did I get that right? Physician recruitment too. All right. Brian Johnson, member of the Board of Trustees, Angela Hickling, I got that right, didn't I? Close. Finance Officer, and Robin Hodgson, Vice President, Nursing. Glad y'all here tonight. And I'm proud to serve on the board at Northern Regional Hospital as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Goins. Thank you for all you do. Let's see. All right, we're going to get right on into the meeting here. And first we'll have our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Eddie Harris.
Would please stand. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here in Dobson to do the people's business. We pray for our leaders of Northern Regional Hospital in Mount Airy. We pray for all of the doctors, nurses, and all the folks that make that hospital work over there and do a fabulous job. We pray for our nation today, Lord, and we pray for this terrible pandemic to pass. We ask your guidance, grace, and your mercy over our nation and its leaders and our troops in foreign lands. We ask for your blessing over our law enforcement officers who face daily dangerous lives at risk. And we look for you, Lord, to give them grace and mercy and look over them. We ask all of these things in your name, Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Next, we will approve the agenda. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Goins to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next, the approval of August 16th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker to approve the August 16th meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Commissioner Harris. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next is our consent agenda. And I will let County Manager Chris Knopf explain each bullet point briefly, if you would, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item is an easement for Duke Energy. This is along the property where the new detention center is being constructed. Secondly, an authorization for the Surry Sunrise Rotary Club to use the parking lot on Raleigh Avenue as a fundraiser to the Autumn Lease Festival in October. Thirdly, proclamation for the Blue Star Memorial Ceremony that's scheduled for here on the historic courthouse square Friday at 10 a.m. And finally, a workers' compensation renewal for human resources. And that's all.
All right, do I have a motion, gentlemen?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Harris to approve consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Goins. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Next on our agenda is special recognitions. I believe we have some folks here from Parks and Recreation and the Board of Elections. So, Jennifer, we all come down to the front. Guess we need to put on a mask. All right, first off, we'll recognize the gentleman from Parks and Rec. You go throughout the county, Fisher River Park, or go historic courthouse grounds or whatever, all these events that Surry County put on, that the county has anything to do with. These gentlemen and the whole crews, they do an outstanding job. Well, take care of it. Work like machines, like clockwork. Everything's got those gentlemen. Don't you? Chief, Parks and Recreation is hereby presented this certificate of recognition. Still going to there. Wire, I'm sorry. Letter. I got close. Next, we appreciate you. This certificate of recognition for your hard work and dedication to maintain the ground of this historic courthouse, keeping it neatly mowed always and landscaped. For the admiration and safety of our employees and citizens, presented this 7th day of September 2021 by the Surry County Board of Commissioners, Mark Mayor, Bill Goins, Eddie Harris, Larry Johnson. Thank you, sir. Empty gates. Okay, sir. Empty gates with Parks and Recreation is hereby presented this certificate of recognition for your hard work and dedication in maintaining the grounds of the historic courthouse, keeping it neatly mowed and landscaped for the admiration and safety of our employees and citizens. Then the 7th day of September 2021 by the Surry County Board of Commissioners, Mark Marion, Bill Goins, Eddie Harris, Larry Johnson, and Dan Tucker. And by the way, all of y'all present today, you need to make just one trip around this square right here. And we're really proud of it, thanks to these folks. And thank you, sir.
Surry County Board of Elections. Being director of our Board of Elections, Stella Hubb. Okay. All right. This is a recognition for the county recognition for your dedicated service and commitment to the citizens of Surry County by serving as a Board of Elections member to ensure and maintain honesty, integrity in our election system. It is the 7th day of September 2021 by the Surry County Board of Commissioners. Would you like to make any comments?
Thank you for your service.
Appreciate all y'all. What y'all do.
Thank you for your service, Don.
I would just like to say that we do appreciate Don. I know Don had been on the Board of Elections long. He was thrown in 2020, all the events in 2020 election. I know the board members who have just served probably held more absentee meetings and had more hours logged. We do appreciate Don. For the fantastic job he did. We were in that together. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
Next up, Bill Cunningham. I always knew it was sunny.
That's a long time ago. Long time.
He's my first case. And former Surry County Commissioner. Surry County. Bill Hamlin is hereby presented the certificate of recognition for your dedicated service and commitment to the citizens of Surry County, serving as a Board of Elections member to ensure and maintain honesty and integrity in our elections. Presented this the 7th day of September 2021 by the Surry County Board of Commissioners. Mark Marion, Bill Goins, Eddie Harris, Larry Johnson, and Tom. Thank you, sir. You want to say something?
I'm like Don, I'll just, I'll keep quiet. Don't get in trouble that way, maybe.
Would you like to say something about this?
Yeah. I'll just say the same thing, of course, but I do want to point out Bill, that you all have known him more than 4 years. He's solid as a rock, always dependable, and
Daniel, would you like to say anything about your folks?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to these guys. They're the full-time staff for maintenance. Kind of parts of that. These guys do an amazing job. They execute things thoroughly. They have an attention to detail that is unparalleled. Just the way that we end up with a finished product, end of the day, every one of them care and they put their heart and soul in what they do and show. And just truly blessed to have crew that do what they do, care the way they care, and work as hard as they do. And the county really is blessed to have them do these things. Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is the open forum. At this time, you will have 3 minutes to come and voice your concerns, opinions, or whatever it may be. You'll state your name, telephone number, and then the time will start. So does anyone here want to speak in open forum? JT, what's wrong with you?
Check his temperature.
Really? All right, we will now recess our regular meeting and open the meeting for the Northern Hospital District of Surry County. And I will now turn it over to our county manager, Chris Knopf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This evening, the Northern Hospital District of Surry County Board has a resolution before it for consideration, and I will summarize it briefly from the information that was distributed to you prior to the meeting. This is a series resolution authorizing and approving the sale and issuance of a Northern Hospital District of Surry County Healthcare Facilities Revenue Refunding Bond, Series 2021, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $20 million for the purpose of providing funds together with other available funds to, one, refund all of the outstanding Northern Hospital District of Surry County Healthcare Facilities Revenue Refunding Bond Series 2012A, two, pay the cost of various capital projects, and three, pay the fees and expenses incurred in connection with the sale and issuance of the Series 2021 bond, authorizing and approving the form, terms, execution, and delivery of the bond purchase agreement and other related documents, and directing the authentication of and delivery of the Series 2021 bond to the purchaser thereof. The hospital board has been actively engaged in a process virtually identical to what the county recently performed for the issuance of bonds for the Elkin Gym project and the detention center. The one difference here is that this board is tethered to the county through the district and therefore requires approval of this resolution in order to move forward with the issuance of debt. And if you have any specific questions about, I would say probably more like item 2 here, what their plans are for capital with these bonds, I'm sure Chris would be happy to come forward and answer any questions that you have. But that's the business that's before the hospital district board this evening. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. That would be a good place to start. So if you would, Mr. Lumsden, if you would come forward and give us your, I know we've heard it, but some of the others might be interested in hearing it. So you would just tell us what you've got in mind here.
All right, well, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And thanks for our board and executive leadership team members to support this project. Several months ago, I had the opportunity, as you recall, to speak before you at one of your planning retreats. And you gave me 15 or 20 minutes to give a quick overview of what we call our master campus plan. And that is the largest portion of the financing that we're requesting this evening. We've also completed the LGC application last week with the state. And so that's been deemed complete, and they will be acting subject to your approval on the application on September the 14th. And then with their approval, and of course your approval, we hope to close on financing with Siemens Public on September the 23rd. And that will allow us to move forward with the project. The master campus plan involves 4 pieces. The first is the closing of Worth Street, which the city has allowed us to do with the Department of Transportation, and the reconfiguration of what we call the North Campus. Now, the primary focus on that project is to improve the safety and patient accessibility to the hospital. We plan on beginning that as early as the mid part of October. The second part would be a smaller parking lot south of what we call the surgery service building that would encompass 66 parking spaces, which is really needed not only now, but also during the construction period when we lose some parking. And then the third piece of the project is the medical office building. That's the largest piece. That will encompass 25,000 square feet of medical office building space located across from South Street, across from the hospital, on 9 acres of property that Northern Regional owns. And will also involve site work that will add about 300 additional parking spaces to the campus. That project is budgeted about $10.1 million. We've received GMP for the work. And we'll continue to negotiate with the general contractor on some value engineering items. That's the third piece and the biggest piece. The fourth is a parking deck. Most of you are familiar with the hospital. We have several front entrances, but we don't have very good, adequate parking. This parking deck will be located adjacent to, contiguous to the surgery building, and will allow people to come to the front entrance of the hospital, turn left, and then find about 70 parking spaces, very accessible to the front main entrance of the hospital. And of course, we'll have parking below the parking deck as well. So the cost of that parking deck is valued right now at $2 million. We plan on starting, if approved, next spring of 2022. The small parking lot, about $300,000. The Wharf Street, we budgeted around $500,000. And then the MOB, the medical office building, we have a budget of around $10 million for that project. In addition, as you probably know, we opened the Urgent Care Center on November 2nd of last year, and it was a very maybe fortuitous decision, and that Urgent Care Center has been exceedingly busy from day one, and over the last 2 months has doubled what we expected the patient volume would be on a daily basis. So we have opened that, and there's 1,400 square feet beside that. We're moving our OC Health department to. That will be joined with urgent care. And then we bought the entire piece of property, which also has T-Mobile on it. So they will become a tenant of ours. So we'll be refunding ourselves for a portion of that project at $2.3 million. And then the refinancing, as noted, is some existing bonds. Get a marginally better rate. We'll save about $65,000 over a 5-year period of time. So not a big savings, but still every dollar counts. So those are the major parts of the financing request: the master campus plan, the refunding of existing debt, and then the refunding of monies we've already spent on the urgent care center. And then there's some miscellaneous expenses as well. We've been planning this for 2 years. The board's been very actively involved with the leadership team. We've looked at dozens of different options for the medical office building. What I shared with you several months ago was the master campus plan. This is the first part of the plan. The next major piece would be the construction of a specialty medical office building on Worth Street. The street will be closing, so hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to consolidate a number of the practices that are in leased space now, largely in Mount Airy, into a single medical office building. The MOB that I just spoke about, the 25,000 square foot building, 17,000 of that will be built out, and Northern Family Medicine will be moved from its current location to the new location. And that'll leave us 8,000 square feet in that building to develop for expansion of primary care, or to even move some of our specialties like pulmonology or cardiology into that facility. So it's a really nice addition to our campus. So not only does this improve our campus, helps us with physician recruitment and retention, and frankly, it's a better investment over the long haul to own rather than to lease. So I'll be glad to address any questions that you have of me regarding the project or projects, or questions about Northern Regional Hospital in general.
Your reference just now in regards to own and lease, repeat that series of statements again, if you would, please, sir.
Yeah, and in looking at our medical office buildings, all of them currently are leased, with the exception of a couple smaller buildings. So as we've analyzed the cost of leasing versus the cost of owning, what we found is it's significantly more favorable, more attractive to us to own than to lease longer term. If we're looking at 5 to 7 years, leasing may be more prudent. Looking 10 to 20 years, owning is more favorable, especially with interest rates being low. It also allows us to consolidate some of the services in these multiple separate medical office buildings to create some operating efficiencies that we just don't have right now. And one last point, by having a medical office building on campus, we are also provided favorable reimbursement under Medicare than we would receive than we do receive by having the building off campus. So when you add up all the pieces to these, to these projects, it just it's kind of overwhelmingly favorable to have new, more functional, more modern office space on campus. The parking is just something that's in dire need of right now as well.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions and some comments. Our county attorney is not here tonight, so if you'll excuse me, I'm going to address this to our county manager. And while you're here, you might want to weigh back in on it. But, has our county attorney reviewed this document? And you used the word tethered. And, I've been on the board at the Northern Regional Hospital for, I think it was almost 14 years. And I want to first say that I have served with each and every one of you folks almost in some capacity on the board, and a couple other of you folks in other capacities. And I want to say I appreciate the integrity and the knowledge of each and every one of you that I see sitting back there, and I bestow a lot of confidence in what your decision is. Having been on that board and now serving this one, I guess is where I'm coming back to you, Mr. Manager. My questions are purely financial, not in any way questioning of this board's decision, nor your decision, Chris, to move forward in this direction. We don't know the healthcare business. That's what you do. That's your game. Your board, certainly their role and capacity is to advise or agree or deny in the direction that you're going and come to a decision. My question tonight, Mr. Manager, I guess, and forgive me for rambling on here, you used the word tethered. We are connected. This is a Northern Regional Hospital is a charter hospital of Surry County. It, in some way, I guess one could make the argument, it stands as its own nonprofit organization and facility. But in the worst case scenario, I guess I would like to hear Ed Walsh or someone weigh in on that before moving forward on a $20 million project. What would be the risk to this county if worst case scenario came? And the reason I say that, we just issued a $45 million debt issuance of our own for some of our projects, our jails and so forth. We have 3 school systems that certainly we're in the process of issuing other debts on some other plans. How does this tie into, and this is a Doug Carter question, and Doug Carter is our county financial planner with DEC. Would Doug Carter, has he weighed in on this and what would be our liability and extending or approving before they go to the LGC for final approval, more indebtedness like to the tune of $20 million? How does that weigh in overall, or would you make a stab at that, Mr. Manager, on our liability and on our ability to borrow future indebted or issue future indebtedness? And I guess my question is to Mr. Lumsden tonight. The LGC awaits this next step from our board before they move further. Is that correct?
That's correct. They are in the process of evaluating the application and have a decision date of September 14th.
September 14th.
Subject to the commissioner's approval.
Yeah. And I know it's time sensitive probably. Going back to my question, Mr. Manager, would you take a stab at answers to any of those questions? Well, one question about DEC, have they reviewed it? No, we haven't asked them to. Has it been reviewed by the county attorney? Yes. it has. The information you have before you was reviewed and then submitted to me by the county attorney prior to him heading out of town, which is where he is. The hospital district is an authority, more or less, much like the airport authority or the water and sewer authority in Flat Rock, Bannertown. Some authorities are state created and some are created locally. The ones I just mentioned, including the hospital, all were created by the county regarding the airport, the city and the county collectively. I guess in a worst case scenario, if there were an issue, the county would have some obligations there. As far as what those are exactly, tonight I couldn't speak to those. I don't have those before me, but the county at some point in the past created the Northern Surry Hospital District. At the time, they created a Southern Surry Hospital District, which has never been utilized. But the hospital in Mount Airy is a public hospital versus what you have in Elkin, which is a private operation. So much like the airport and the water and sewer authority in Flat Rock, Bannertown, you have some ownership there, as far as at least the county does, who set those up originally. But the process here, when I mentioned tethered, is that they are coming back to the district's governing body, the hospital board is, to seek this resolution so they can take that next step. They'll be under the same scrutiny and microscope from the LGC that we were just 6 to 8 weeks ago.
Independently or tied together collectively as a county? Will the LGC even consider this as a hospital district and what this indebtedness, in addition to what we already have?
It'll be reviewed with them solely. They have their own bond rating, for instance, so they'll be looked at individually.
I assume in worst case scenario, I wouldn't, we would all do the best we could, but, we would have some ties to you folks, our wonderful hospital. And I want to say, I think it is a wonderful hospital. I enjoyed all of my days there. I think it's a wonderful contribution to our community. I think it's headed in the right direction. I'm not asking any of these questions in any way, shape, form, or fashion that would I hope that would lead anybody to believe that I don't have the full confidence of this board being able to make that decision. I'm just purely seeing, now that I'm sitting on this side of the fence, what it does to our overall debt, bond rating, debt issuance ability in the future, because I know we've got some big projects on the table. If Ed were here, he would be more appropriate to ask that. But anyway, just something to ponder on. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Our yield here.
Yes, Chairman. Yes, Chris, and thank you for coming tonight. A couple of years ago, Commissioner Tucker and I had a meeting with Bill Waltz. We were interested in the finances of the hospital and the financial health of the hospital, its long-term financial being soluble, and in light of a lot of rural hospitals in America facing some challenges. So we had a real good meeting, and the financials came shortly thereafter, and we did have DEC to review those. And if your board doesn't know who DEC is, it's Doug and Andrew Carter, as Commissioner Tucker suggested, and he was the chief financial officer for the city of Charlotte and a longtime employee of State Treasurer Harlan Boyles, very capable individual. And he actually reviewed the finances of Northern Surry and gave you folks quite a glowing report to us. And I thought it was important that this board be aware of any challenges that may be coming up at Northern Surry Hospital, because I've always felt that we were very fortunate in this county to have two so-called independent hospitals, which is quite unique in rural America in one county. And the employment component of that and the tax base component of that, it is highly significant. And especially the geographical location of the two hospitals being in the far corners of the county. My question is this, do you and I haven't, obviously, I haven't been privy to any financials that I'm aware of lately, but do you still think that the finances of Northern Surry Hospital are as healthy as they were 2 years ago? I mean, obviously, I would imagine if you're looking to borrow $20 million, you must think you're pretty healthy over there.
Yeah, well, it must have been more than two. It was before my time, so I've been here
Well, maybe it
3
was
years.
3 years. Maybe, yeah, I don't remember.
Our balance sheet is very strong. This project could have been done with cash. Understand, we're refinancing some of this, so we're not talking about $20 million in debt. We're talking about 16.5 at the most. We also negotiated what they call an extraordinary prepayment term that allows us to turn back in or not spend up to $5 million. So our goal was to spend as little as possible. That 20 million would be on the high end. And again, 3.5 of that is existing debt. So we're looking at 16.5 million of potential new debt. So the balance sheet is very, very strong. In many ways, we grade out as a rating as a single A. We're a triple B, and that was validated this year, as it always is, by Moody's and by
Standard & Poor's.
Standard & Poor's, S&P. So on the income side, our goal is to break even cash flow. We're projecting next year at $5 million. So good positive cash flow. P&L is tight, frankly. Our payer mix is challenged here. We're one of the lowest charge and cost hospitals in the state of North Carolina, not by Chris, but by reports that we receive. So we have a lot of good things going for us. Our quality indicators are great. Our customer satisfaction scores at our all-time high. Our cash position, our balance sheet is strong. And we're looking at growing. Frankly, that's from the very start, focused on two things. One is to grow our services. Last 18 months, we recruited 17 new physicians to our community, providers to our community. Added some new services, and we want to create more jobs as well. And our view is capturing or recapturing market that has left this community and largely to Winston-Salem rather than to my friend at Hugh Chatham. So we are doing all we can to position ourselves to be stronger and to grow. And that would include finance, operations, and the people side of what we do. I've provided Chris with a report that I thought was a really good story today. We just received, it's been a year since we've gotten this information, market share for Northern. And the last 3 years, our inpatient and outpatient market share has significantly increased. That is, people that have left our community, our region, our service region of about 80,000 people. We are starting to attract those patients back to our hospital. And that's exactly what we need to be looking at. The other thing I'd mentioned, we're a great healthcare provider. I don't mind at 63 bragging about Northern Regional because it's a really outstanding organization. But beyond, and by the way, this summer has been a record volume. I don't know if this is a dubious honor or not for Northern Regional Hospital. Today, the hospital is full. Urgent care is as busy as it's ever been. So we're moving in the right direction. We need to continue to focus on how do we grow this hospital. It's hard to cut yourself to prosperity, although we're very lean, but rather we're focused on how to grow and how to recapture market and do it in a financial prudent way as well. But it's tight, as it is for most hospitals.
We certainly commend your service and your work and your performance and all things that we've heard about you are very positive over there. One more question. Again, I have a tremendous amount of confidence in this board and their decision, and I'm sure they've looked this over every kind of way. Just, was it a unanimous decision? Was it by a great majority? Was there any dissenters on your board?
It was majority.
Okay. I understand.
Unanimous, excuse me.
Unanimous?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'm through.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple more questions. You want to go, Bill? No. Yeah, so the pandemic has increased your numbers, I would say quite remarkably. Is that correct?
It is,
Yeah.
it's impacted us significantly.
Okay. Who helped you all structure this debt? Did you have an outside financial firm, I'm assuming, to help
Yeah,
you?
we did. We hired a financial advisor who's done work with us in the past on other bond issuances.
Mhm.
Of course, he used bond counsel, Paul Billow, who I think does work for the county as well.
He does.
And a number of other advisors.
On page 29, the debt to capitalization rate is district shall maintain at all times a ratio of long-term indebtedness to capitalization of 65% or less. Do you know what that would be with the issuance in these new bonds?
Let me ask, Andrew, do you? Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. That's fine. Let me just double check here, Mr. Chairman, see if I have anything else. Is your timeline hard? I mean, is it?
Well, we'd like to close this month so we can begin construction.
Okay. I noticed that there was a variable rate clause in here. Do you know anything about that, Chris? And the assumption of, is this fixed or is it a variable?
Fixed.
It's fixed,
Not variable.
but there's a variable rate clause.
2.7.
Okay. Yeah, interest rates are quite low. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Goins, do you have anything?
I don't have, other than this board has vetted and talked and discussed and I think done a good job of looking at all the information and trying to do what's best for a hospital and, you know, the importance of that hospital to our economy, to our local economy. And bringing in, like Chris says, is growing our hospital and our providers being able to put patients toward the hospital is big for the hospital.
Well, I'll also note, if this is maybe somewhat comforting, our annual debt service for the medical office building portion, the $10 million portion of this, will be less than the annual rent that we're paying for the facility. So we're going to end up with a new, modern, bigger, more functional building than what we're in now, which we've outgrown. We cannot expand that practice anymore. We have to either find an auxiliary location or a new location. That's why time is really important. Primary care, family medicine is really the bedrock of the medical staff. I say that in all due respect to all of our other specialties, but primary care is really, really important. We've seen that even more so the last 2 years. We've outgrown the space.
How's your urgent care going there on 52?
It's going fantastic. You know, we were very conservative in our estimates. We thought 34 to 38 patients, but it doesn't seem many. The second year of operation, we're doing 50 to 60 nowadays. And last week we saw 83 one day. So not only does it meet a need in the community, which I think has been talked about for a good while here, but also financially, it's a nice service for us to offer by the hospital to the community.
It is. Do you find that as a feeder part of your organization? I don't know the answer to that. Is it there because you need to have it there to compete? Is it there because it helps the bottom line with referrals? Or I'm just curious.
Yes and yes. One is a service that's needed in our community, and I'm not saying there aren't other urgent cares, but they've come and gone. Two, it has been echoed to me from day one that we needed an urgent care center here, which I agreed with. Third, financially, if we do this well, we'll generate a reasonable margin. There are not many services in hospitals these days, certainly community hospitals, that generate a reasonable margin. So that's also important to us. And to some degree, it is a feeder. Our ED director told me a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago, when we were just beginning this, he thought it was going to help the ED as opposed to compete with the ED. And guess what? A year and a half later, he was, at least last year, he's exactly right. Now, we do get patients that are referred to the emergency department that can't be cared for to urgent care, or are referred to a specialist, whether it be ours or someone else, from another provider for care that just can't be rendered in urgent care. But the key is the opportunity to provide a facility and providers at a low cost to people in this community. So they can get in, they get out quickly at just a bit of what it would cost in the emergency department. So it has offloaded some of the volume from the emergency department. But guess what? This past week and last week, we are back to pre-COVID levels in the emergency department, while the urgent care facility is far more busier than we anticipated in year two.
Yes, I have one question, Chris. It doesn't relate to I certainly support all this, but and speaking, you talked about all your time frames, and they're urgent for y'all to stay on schedule and everything. My question to you, have you already selected a general contract?
We have. We went through a fairly exhaustive and comprehensive selection process. Board members were involved, the executive leadership team. We solicited proposals, narrowed it down to 7, interviewed over a 10-hour period, all 7 general contractors, and chose a general contractor to do the medical office building project.
Is it okay that, can you share it with us or not? I mean,
I Long out of Winston-Salem.
Okay, Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know they're gonna have a lot of subs working. Do you feel that this general contractor will be using a lot of Surry County workers?
That's our objective, and we made it. Now, having said that, even under a negotiated contract, you're going to be bidding most of the major trades, probably 75 to 80%. But we did emphasize the importance of allowing local trades to bid on the work. And we would anticipate that many will secure some of the work for this project.
That's the avenue I come from. I like to see, it's going to help everybody. It's going to be a big county effort. But if that wants to work, probably find a job.
Well, as Commissioner Harris was saying, it's really unheard of to have 2 really good hospitals in one county in a rural part of the state. But beyond healthcare, and this was the point I was trying to make earlier, is that beyond healthcare, and we think we do it pretty well, as frankly as Hugh Chatham does, but we're also an economic engine for this community in this region. I mean, as goes oftentimes hospital communities, as goes the hospital and vice versa. I mean, industry and business have many options to consider, but having good healthcare in a community is a really important, I would put at least top 5 draw to existing and new industry to a community. So we see ourselves as not only a healthcare provider, but also really an economic engine for the community and for the region.
Mr. Chairman, Wood, I want to add one more thing. I want to thank everybody from the Northern Regional coming tonight, especially the Board of Trustees and all your employees that have a lot of responsibility there. I want to thank Mr. Wilkes as chairman and the interview committee that hired you. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, you've been great. My understanding, a few of your board members, or in fact, more than a few, have shared with me it's their favorite board they serve on. They serve on various different things, and so we thanks to you or Bill Wilkes or whoever for making that happen.
Wow.
And I noticed most of you's been on it a long time. And I thank you for your service. It means a whole lot to me especially and to Surry County. You're sort of behind the scenes, whatever, getting the job done. And I'm sure every one of you earn your keep. I guess you want to say it that way, but thank you thank all of you for the work you do here.
Mr. Johnson, it's an honor to work at Northern Regional Hospital. It's when I retired 3 years ago, I wasn't anticipating to return to work, but it was a good fit. Close to my hometown, Roanoke, close to where I spent 30 years as CEO of a health system in Virginia. And this is a really, really nice community and a great hospital. I think we're going to do everything we possibly can to capitalize on our strengths, improve on our weaknesses, and increase healthcare and job opportunities for the people of this area. That's our focus.
Anyone else? All right, next is
Thank you.
decide whether we move on with this. Is we have a resolution here. You want to read the resolution or not? Just, we've got it in front of us here. So need to. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion that we adopt this resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Goins to adopt the resolution. Do I have a second? I'll second that motion, Commissioner Marion. Any more discussion?
Yes. Go ahead, Commissioner Tucker.
I was just going to say, I think it sounds like a wonderful idea. Appreciate the wonderful presentation. Appreciate a strong presence by your board. That says a lot to me. On our end of the financial questions I'd started out earlier, in the future, maybe we'll research that, Mr. Manager, and just see how tethered we are in the event of good times or bad. Of course, we expect good times. And again, thank you folks for what you do. And strong organization makes me proud to live in Surry County when we start talking about our community college and 2 hospitals and so many other things that separate us from so many counties around us that I see and hear and discuss topics with all the time. So thank you. Just comment. I'm done.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would like to say to the county manager, if we could get DEC to perhaps give a review of that document just for informational purposes to the board. Also, I'd like to say to the Northern Board, I appreciate your service and enjoyed my meeting with Mr. Wilkes there probably 3 years ago. And at that time, there was, Yadkin County Hospital had failed, Stewart had failed, Stokes had failed, Galax was failing. There was some concern, and we have an obligation here as the Surry County Board of Commissioners, as someone has used the term tethered, we are hooked together.
Yes.
And we do have a concern for the employees and the economic success and the ability to earn livings and for our citizens here in Surry County, and Northern Surry Hospital plays a big role in that. And that in itself is the reason for my concern and my caution in anything that regards Northern Hospital. But I do have a tremendous amount of respect and for the board and making good decisions. And I think the board has done that. And Mr. Chairman, I will be in favor of this. Thank you.
All right. I'd just like to say that since our retreat, when you've done your presentation, I've been excited about it since then. So looking forward to this and seeing the changes in Mount Airy. And of course, I was born there. So do we have any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, next on the agenda, we will now go back into reconvene our regular meeting.
You'll need a motion to adjourn the
Okay.
Northern
motion to
Hospital
adjourn the-
District.
Does that resolution have to be passed twice?
I don't believe so.
There's something in there that
There's
says.
something in our agenda that has to be
It's
voted
the
on.
ambulance
upcoming.
franchise.
Oh, the ambulance. Okay, I'm sorry.
Who wants to make a motion to go back in the regular meeting?
Motion to go back into regular session, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
by Commissioner
Mr.
Dorsey.
Chairman, before you reconvene, you have to adjourn the Northern Hospital Board meeting.
Motion to adjourn
then-
the Northern Hospital Regional Board public hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker to adjourn the hospital board meeting, seconded by Commissioner Goins. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to reconvene the Surry County Board of Commissioners meeting.
Motion to reconvene the Surry County Board of Commissioners meeting by Commissioner Goins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Now, that was too confusing. All right, we're reconvening our regular meeting. Next on the agenda is Chris Knopf, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item is related to a lease amendment for the USDA space in the Surry County Service Center. As some of you are painfully aware, we've been trying for the better part of 5 years to get an updated lease. With the planned and then actual relocation of these offices from the Cooper Street building to the service center. For as long as we can track, Surry County has received $75 a month from the federal government for approximately 2,500 square feet. As you can see from the new lease, which would actually be retroactive to January 1st, we will now receive from the federal government an annual lease rate of $27,720, or $2,310 a month. This represents $11 a square foot for the 2,520 square feet they'll be using. So this is for the all the USDA offices, Rural Development Farm Service Agency, and some of the gentlemen that work with Tony Davis on the soil and water side. These are for their offices. I think it's fair to say that a couple of months ago, we reached out, and of course, Jessica and Don have put in a lot of hard work on this on the facility side, but reached out to Congressman McHenry's office, Roger Kumpf, and had a meeting with him. Don and Jessica did a great job, went back and put a timeline together over the last 5 years. And literally within about a week, the appropriate person at the federal government level and GSA sort of got us on the right track. And so here we are this evening with a lease amendment. So surprise, surprise. So this will need to be executed by the Board of Commissioners if you're satisfied with the terms.
Sounds a lot better than what it was. We better hurry up and do it. Do I have a motion, gentlemen?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Hash for the Service Center Lease Amendment Agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Who?
You should put us all down for a second.
Yeah, we all lost.
Second by Commissioner Goins. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Next item is as Commissioner Harris mentioned just a few moments ago, the item that requires a second approval is the ambulance franchise renewal. The county attorney discovered following the last meeting that franchises in general have to be done twice. And so the ones that we're most familiar with are the ambulances and also the solid waste collectors. So going forward, as these come back to us, we will be doing that. So we would ask that you provide a second approval for the Lifestar 5-year franchise.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson to approve the franchise renewal for Lifestar. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Goins. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next item is a request from DOT for a county resolution supporting the addition of Oriole Way. That is actually a road that was developed a number of years ago in the Oriole Estate subdivision off of 268, just outside of Pilot Mountain. The road is built per our subdivision ordinance regulations to minimum state standards. The reason it's not in the state system is because it's just now gotten the required number of homes per mile in order for the road to be considered by DOT for state maintenance. I placed at each of your spots, this form, which is the actual resolution. I failed to include it in the packet. So this is what we would include in the minutes. And it's basically DOT SR2 form. If you were agreeable for the county, for the resolution of support, it would require action this evening.
All right, do I have a motion, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we include this resolution of support for Oriole Way. I was by there today. Actually, those houses have really sprang up. It's a nice little development and,
That's the one going into pilot from 260.
yeah, on the right coming in, on going out of town. It's on the left right there, just as,
Been there a long time, but it's just. down-
yeah,
keep taking off.
that's right.
All right,
Yeah, I'll make that motion and hope they can put that in part of the state DOT plan and maintenance.
all right. Motion by Commissioner Tucker. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Goins. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Next item is a request related to property acquisition on Colbert Street from the Mount Airy City Schools. You have a memo from the the Board of Education of Mount Airy to the County Board of Commissioners. To kind of revisit this, on November the 4th, 2019, the Board of Commissioners agreed to allocate $61,121.18 towards the acquisition of this adjacent property to Farrington Primary. Since that time, as you can see from the memo, the cost of purchasing the property is $92,000, which is $30,879 higher than what we allocated previously. In addition to that additional purchase request funding, or additional request and funding for the purchase, there are a number of other items here related to closing costs, the demolition of the house and storage building, tree removal, gravel and grading, and then additional gravel and grading for a turnaround, as well as that parking lot, and also a request to waive landfill fees. All of that, in addition to the additional, or to the already allocated $61,121.18, would come to a grand total of $162,987.13. They're also asking for a $16,299 10% contingency. I believe all in here, because I believe there's just a couple of typos here on the memo. We're looking at a all-in number of $179,286.13. If you back out the already approved 61,000, additional funds needed would be $118,164.95. I believe we have a representative of Mount Airy City Schools, if you have any questions here this evening.
That was 118,000 what?
My estimation is the additional funds needed, as outlined in the memo, would be $118,164.95.
And you would propose that this would come out of the general fund?
It would have to come from general fund. General fund contingency, if you look at specific lines, it's not budgeted. On the landfill fees, it's typically been the practice of the board just not to waive landfill fees purely because the landfill fund is completely self-supporting with fees and is not subsidized by general fund. And, consequently, those fees would need to probably be included. So I don't know if that would change their request any. If the board sticks with that, that history of not waiving fees. That's my calculation. Of course, I would, pending board discussion this evening, would want to revisit that. The only other question I might would have is in the minutes from November 2019, the address is 331 Colbert Street. And here it's 407. So I don't know if that's the same property. Do you know if that's the same Can you come up to the podium? Do you mind?
I have a question or two for you.
Sorry. I didn't know if that address had changed or if it was typo.
The house is still there. It's the
Okay.
same one. So, and I don't know that
I meant to check this afternoon and just didn't get around to it, but it should be the same property that was discussed a couple of years ago. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. So we're wanting to buy the additional monies to buy the property.
In addition to what you had already allocated back in 2019. I think it was a leftover project from, that's what I've been told. It was a leftover project from the middle school HVAC job. Is that correct? We were trying to determine, since it had been 2 years ago, what the actual money came from back then.
Yeah, and if it's not spent in that fiscal year, typically we just set it aside until it's needed. And I think there was the problem in acquiring a property as quickly as they would like to have was that there were a number of errors, a lot of errors.
Yeah,
To track down in order to sort this out.
yeah, there were double-digit errors and they couldn't find it. You know, the property had been condemned and it's actually become an eyesore for the area, for the school system, if you've been by there.
Question. Since this has been going on 2 or 3 years, we'd already allocated $61,000. Well, and so I'll refer this back to Chris, maybe you might know. Was any of this $100,000 addition to the original request ever considered in Mount Airy's budget request?
For this fiscal year,
Yes.
I don't believe it's one of their special items. And it might be related to the fact that, when we were doing budget prep 6-7 months ago, the situation with the heirs had not come to any sort of resolution. I know that.
And this has just become recent that they even got in touch. That's what I've been told with all of the heirs. That has been a major ordeal as far as what I've been told.
I guess my point is, we had issued 61,000 for a purchase of the property. And now tonight we're coming back and we're looking at 162,000 in totality, but we're talking about tree removal, gravel grading, turnaround, waiving landfill fees, demolition of houses. That's
News to me.
that's something I had not heard. You would expect something that's already in the works. I would expect, let me just say that, I would expect it to be addressed somewhat in this year's fiscal budget rather than just send a memo over and say, oh, yes, the 61 million has now, or the 61,000 has now turned into 162,000. So my question is, was it considered in the budget request any way that you can recall?
I don't believe it was in the request from Mount Airy City Schools last spring.
It's news to me. And I attended the convocation, Mr. Lawrence and I did, and nothing been spoke of this properties. It's all news, even the additional 30,000 to purchase it. But I want to share with you, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm Jay Temple, and yes, and I wanted to reiterate what the gentleman from the hospital said. I retired 7 years ago and came back to work with Mount Airy in Surry County. And you guys have it going on. I came from a similar system. In fact, I tell people if there's a twin city to what I've been working with, and I wanted to tell you that I've worked with Commissioner Goins, and he's crazy like me. He can't get enough education, I guess. He keeps going back for more, and he's a glutton for punishment. But I was supposed to have retired again July the 1st, and Dr. Morrison has asked me to kind of stick around and do some special projects, but I really do think you guys have it going on. And I'm impressed with Surry County and Mount Airy City Schools.
Well, Jay, I have a question for you. Being this is news to me, it appears that Mount Airy City Schools is asking us for the lock, stock, and barrel here. Now, we've worked with other school systems on purchasing land, demolitions, everything. And of course, they have funds also, and we've always worked out a reasonable deal between us. If it's the case that you're asking us for 100%, I'm not making that the call tonight. So I need a little more information. It appears to me that they are, just by looking
Right.
at this. Can you answer that, yay or nay?
I would say that that's a true statement, because I've been working on trying to find contractors Right.
And I learned my lesson with the Mount Airy Middle School project to work with local, and that was a concern you had. It's become real difficult to find people that are actually have the equipment to do the demolition. Again, I come from a really conservative county, and in trying to save Mount Airy and you guys money, it's in the environment, in the building environment that we're in, it's become real difficult to do that as well.
Tear it down for $8,000.
And that, I'm with you on this. I've actually reached out even into some other counties. Had a guy from Yadkin County that came over. I haven't gotten his quote. In my opinion, it seems that's low, but some of the others high.
How many square foot is this old house?
I'm gonna guess it's about 1,200 square feet. Do y'all know, I brought some pictures of the property if y'all like to see it.
See that again? I know I looked at it once upon a time.
This is right, I mean, at the end of Barrington's parking lot, there's a fence, and that's 3 different pictures. And I've been in it. Vagrants have actually moved into the storage building, and they were staying there. They're not there. They've knocked out the glasses in the back, and I'm sure they were staying in that,
I'm sure it's an eyesore, and honestly, I think it was the same board members, we all was, I'm pretty sure unanimous on the vote that yes, we would, help purchase that home for the 61,000 or something, but evidently you had a lot of problems finding everybody that owned it, all the heirs and everything, so now y'all have, I assume, an agreement with them now.
I think.
Have you done bought it?
No, I think, Mr. Knopf, you would be more aware of what's going on with that, because the condemnation, and it was actually sold on the courthouse square, wasn't it? Wasn't it condemned and then, or that the city in some way condemned it? And it was a sealed bid, may not even been sealed bid. Again, I haven't been a part of that process. I've been working on the facility side, and the Board of Education is meeting tonight, so that's why I'm here.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna need some more information, and I feel like
Mr. Chairman,
if we're wanting to fit the whole bill, I'm gonna probably be a no vote. I feel like we need to work together on it.
Well, if you would,
And I don't think Mount Airy City School System.
I cost 30,000 above what is, I figured 30,879, 8,000 tear it down. And the landfill fee comes to $58,113. That gets rid of the house, that pays for the house. And then all the other stuff, they can come up with money, I guess.
I mean, and I learned a lesson a long time ago that I don't speak for a Board of Education without them voting. Yeah.
Messenger, but
I feel the same way. Not picking on any of our schools, of course. I know their job is to come to this board and be funded. They don't make any money. Our job is to ferret out these requests, and that's a big jump from 61,000 to 162,000, and it was not mentioned in their regular budget request that anybody can attest to here tonight. And I'm still willing to go with the $61,121.
Would be
Yep.
$58,113. That's demolition, that's the pay for the house, demolition, and landfill fee.
Yeah, I guess with this board took action and approved 61,000. So I mean, I'm willing to do that. And that'll take care of the 58,000 requests that you're talking about. As far as I'm able to go tonight, and then come back and talk to us again.
We've already got that in
so
set aside, right?
the Board of Education would have to dip into their funds for the 31,000. So we're,
Well, it's more than that.
118.
It's about 100,000.
well, no, they can buy it for 92,000
Well, I mean,
if they get title to the land and let it sit there and as long as they want to. I
I'm,
mean,
I'm just basing my numbers on the request of, we'd appropriated 61,000.
well, I understand that.
The whole project there soon.
I'm not talking about the, I'm talking about getting title to the land.
I understand.
And once you get title to the land, then you can do whatever you
You got
want
a
to.
little freedom to
You got some freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
take your time.
I would be in favor myself if we need to help them get, finalize the purchase, another 30,000 tonight. That'd be all I could do tonight. Without Dr. Morrison or Tim Matthews, somebody coming over here and
Till she comes.
filling it out a little more. I just, it'll be hard for me because it was news to me, you know, other than when I got my packet Friday. So, and I'm surprised. We usually have some good conversations or communication. I mean,
I'm assuming Mount Airy Board of Education has some monies that, I mean, I wonder if ESSER monies, I mean, you know, would be, if ESSER monies could be used for this. I mean,
probably not.
maybe they can do some revenue replacement. Some,
That would probably take some research on somebody,
Right now.
because that's what, we had to,
Use that on that, they did use that on the driveway at the middle school because getting kids in and out.
right.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that Mount Airy did, that actually that was a revision with the ESSER process.
He'll pay Mount Airy Middle School.
They did because of, dropping the COVID, the dropping off kids at the middle school.
Well, part of this is involved in that. Part of this,
It'd have to be to mitigate COVID.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. They'd have to answer.
That might be part of it, but
I mean,
I'll help you with the
you have to
budget
get
tonight.
creative to
I'll
mitigate COVID. To
If
be,
not,
so.
I'll have to wait for them for the rest of
If
it.
you can mitigate COVID, let it, none of us would have to worry about it. And let me,
oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
and Commissioner Goins was, and then going back, because I'm hearing two different things. Were you saying that to basically get the purchase of the property and get it removed and cleaned up?
I think the consent, well, what I'm hearing right here is just to help you purchase the property now. So it would be $30,879 is the difference, just to purchase the property. And then for the other things is to come back. That's what I'm hearing. That's kind of what I said initially, but Commissioner Johnson saying that he would support purchasing the property and then for the school system to come back and ask for the other items, since they didn't ask. This is the first we've heard about it, and it wasn't talked about budget time.
Well, and I want to say this here. I've historically on this board, I have always considered adjoining properties or adjoining land, which is really, really hard to acquire in a lot of cases, a top priority for these schools. We did it at Elkin. We did it over there at Meadowview Middle School. We did it at Flat Rock. We did it to the tune of $500,600,000 at East Surry. We just did it at Surry Central. And so, and they came to us before budget time with this number, 61,000. And in light of the fact that this adjoining property is so critical, that I'm going to support the 30,000 or whatever it is to get the property in the name of Mount Airy City Schools, because that was the commitment that I personally feel like I made before the budget. And when we did this, although it was to the tune of just $61,000, didn't know it was going to be 91,000, but these things are moving targets when you go to trading property and bidding off land and all that stuff. We know it from down here. We know it from East Surry. We know it from God knows where all. And I would support only the addition of the property.
Let me ask another clarification thing. In my report back to the board, should I tell them that they would need to come back to you at budget time next year, or would it be possible, because it is an eyesore, I mean, and something needs to be done, even the maintenance of it, and the demolition of it, probably.
You know, there might be good citizens out there that want to help clean that place up a little bit. But, you know, if they, as long as they got it in their name right now,
Takes the heat off.
that's,
Well,
you know, there's a whole lot of options after you get it in your name. So,
yeah, that takes the pressure off of it. I mean, it really does. You have a lot of options and you can study on it and
I would say, you go back to your board with, you know, not giving you an answer other than we didn't take action. But it looks like to me, we might take action on some of it possibly here in a minute on the property, but the rest of it, y'all come back to us after it's convenient when you want to get on the agenda again.
Okay.
With our chairman and our county manager.
all right, do I have a motion, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion that in addition to the $61,121 that we have approved prior a couple of years ago, that's gonna take a total of it's $30,000 difference, 879. I'm gonna make a motion that we grant that tonight, so they can go ahead and secure this property. And I make no other suggestion that I am willing at this point until maybe next budget year when they want to include it to talk about it, unless they want to come make a special a meeting to address this. That will be inclusive of all my motion, just to include another $30,879 to go along with the other $61,000 to secure the property.
All right, motion by Commissioner Tucker to secure the property. Is there a second?
I'll be glad to second that.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? I only have one thing. It's up here in the second paragraph. Says 92,000, then there is a difference would be 34,879. Where did that?
I think that's a typo.
Yeah,
I
that's one of the
noticed
two
that, and I told
typos.
Dr. Morrison that today. Actually,
Yeah.
it should be 30,879. Yeah.
We'll get that straight. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
were you any relation to James Temple? You're Temple, not Templeton. Temple. Okay.
We might have been partly related.
Probably have somewhere.
They dropped a ton somewhere.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is a request from the sheriff's office related to body worn camera replacement. The current body worn cameras are no longer supported by the manufacturer, and they have a number of them that don't operate at all. The sheriff's office, in conjunction with the MIS department, performed a great deal of research on various options and have settled on the quote that is attached as the best option. Specifically, you will see that these cameras are on a 5-year term contract, and the total amount is $222,900. It will be broken up into monthly payments of $3,715 or an annual cost of $44,580. Sheriff's Office estimates that they can handle this investment with their current budget, and would recommend that the county commissioners allow them to move forward under this new contract with Motorola. And there's some sheriffs, the sheriff is here and the chief
If
deputy.
would you step forward, please? Okay. Good evening.
Just to reiterate what Mr. Knopf said, that the body worn cameras, the day in which we live in, are no longer a, if we have them, it's great. If we don't, too bad. We've learned in today's times that it's just about a necessity.
You're automatically guilty.
Yes, to have these, the ability for us to have body worn cameras on each of the patrol deputies and our deputies that may be serving civil papers and that sort of thing is, it's paramount for not only for their safety, but also, I'd go completely back to the board and back to the county itself with as far as potential lawsuits that this can dispel when someone says that one of our employees has done something incorrectly, and we've got the video there to show that they acted properly. As Mr. Knopf said, we have basically, as far as the cameras, we have been kind of limping along with the cameras, and there for a time, for about the past year and a half, the manufacturer has actually been, when we sent in a camera to be, if it tore up or needed some type of repair, we would send the camera in, and they were actually doing some repairs. And then it got to the point to where here in recent months that they have basically said that they no longer are going to be able to support the body cameras that we currently have. And here just recently, basically they just come down and said, we no longer have any more body cameras of that type to send you back, as far as if we do a switch out. If we send them a body camera that's torn up, they have no parts to fix it, and they have no other body cameras similar to that. So given that, we of course done some significant testing in conjunction with our IT department with the county. They were heavily involved in it and actually done wear test with our deputies out on the street, and came up with what you have before you tonight.
Okay, this is a 5-year term contract.
Yes, it is a 5-year contract. Basically, it's a annual of $44,580 per year. And what the sheriff's office and the IT really liked about the 5-year term contract is the hardware refresh in the 3rd year. When we was talking with our county IT, they were talking about, cell phones, we all have them, computers, a 2 to 3 year window is about what you're going to get nowadays out of this type of electronic equipment. And we was really glad to see that 3-year turnaround, and basically that they do a refresh with the cameras.
Do we have any of the cameras that we have now, or any of them operational?
We do have some operational, but like I said, if I have a deputy that has one go out tonight, basically that company has said, just about a month and a half ago, they basically called us and told us that just don't even send them back to us no more, because it's out of warranty. They've actually, the company has been good to us, but they've actually extended, probably done more than what they should have. But it's time that we re-up and go in a different direction with this.
Martha Brennell also just advised me that the printer they used to create the backup DVDs died over the weekend, will not power on. It's also discontinued, so parts are an issue for it as well.
If I can't even count on my hands and toes how many times I've heard that same story, and the phrase no longer supported by the manufacturer. Usually this is quite cheap. Usually it's $1 million for radio systems and towers, and I don't know what all happens every day, but
But the consistent thing is they do always go up.
they always go up, and they always let it become obsolete on an intentional basis.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure after 5 years that this will no longer be supported by the manufacturer. But
At least we got a halfway point. They'll take it.
Really?
3 years, they'll upfit them.
Really?
Might get an extra year.
Is this 75 of these, and I think they're very important. I'm not making fun of this. I think it's a very
Yes, sir.
serious matter, and that's just my general nature. And the sheriff's department probably knows that by now. But anyway, 75, is that how many you have in total for all of your officers, or is that?
That will not, that'll include every officer that we have other than detention staff. And
Okay,
the reason that we're not going with detention staff is because that they are under camera surveillance.
right.
As soon as they walk in the door from the time they walk in to the time that they leave.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very important that the sheriff's deputies have those, and I think they need them for their safety. And like I said, I'm not making light of it. I'm just making light of how the system works. But thank you.
I read in here where you searched the best, where everybody came up with an agreement to get the best ones out available that would protect, and the best money's available. Guys, I don't know about y'all, but I wouldn't want to be out there without one of these.
Nope.
And
Chief, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You have 5 years to pay for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
You got the money in budget this year.
Yes, sir.
And then you say in your statement or your words is that you believe you'll have it future budgets.
Yes, sir.
And I guess that's about all you can say.
I'm liking all that.
You got it for this year, but that you believe, and that's honest as you can be. I mean, you don't know until you work on your budget.
I'm curious, is body cameras, are they, it would almost seem to me that they would be in a requirement for your insurance coverage. I mean, does our insurance carrier require us to have our deputies? I mean, it would almost seem logical that it would be a requirement. Yeah. Yeah. I don't see how police departments, law enforcement even get by without them now. I mean, there's so many lawyers in the world. I mean,
Yeah,
but,
you know, I've been in supervisor's position since 2010 in law enforcement, and just the time and time and time of the time and time again of people coming to the agency and filing some type of complaint. And it sure is great. It sure is great to be able to say that our ladies and gentlemen with the sheriff's office acted in a proper manner, and to be able to be like, well, if you want to go ahead and file, you know, if you want to go ahead and file it, that's fine, but you might want to look at this first.
absolutely.
Chief, we're gonna go ahead and get this done. Is that all right with you?
One more question for the chief. All you're asking tonight is for our approval. It's purchase.
Yes,
Because you've already got it, but.
yes.
Then, okay.
Well,
There's no money
No.
going out tonight or forward or whatever.
I got one question. I got nothing to do with your cameras. I wouldn't want to, I admire the folks that'll do this. I wouldn't want to be out there at all without a camera after this world has gone as crazy as it has. But I'm just curious. It made me think. I know the state patrol has cam on dash cam or camera from the car. Do they wear the, is that state issue? Do they wear cameras, state highway patrol?
Yes,
They do wear a vest?
yes.
Okay. I knew they did the video from the,
And we also have, you also have in-car cameras.
oh, you have them on all yours?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, we have, on all of our patrol division vehicles, we have in-car cameras. And in addition to that, we have the body cam.
That's good.
And the reason being is for obvious, you might not be pointed at that location, but you're always going to be there with that body cam.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we purchase these cameras as requested by the sheriff's office for 5 years. That's come out of their budget. $44,500.
Motion by Commissioner Goins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tucker. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, John.
Motion carried. Be safe out there.
Next item is related to two projects, capital projects that are budgeted for this fiscal year. The first is for the roof replacement at the Health Department. Jessica Montgomery solicited bids and received three. As you can see, the low bid there is $292,200 from GMG. The second project related to the government center is the rehabilitation of the windows and joints restoration. Also, three bids received there, the low bid from EBS in the amount of $74,600. There's also an alternate on that project, as you can see, to address the entryway on both sides of the facility. They also had if you look at their alternate costs, they also were the lowest at $8,670. Jessica's here if you have any questions, but as I stated earlier, both of these were bid. The roof project is slightly higher than what was budgeted, I think by just $2,200, but there'll be some significant savings on the window and joints restoration. If you recall, the government center has a lot of windows, and those need to be shored up just for our heating and air costs going forward. So if you take action on these, you need to do so separately. And Jessica's here if you have any questions.
If we take action on it.
I would take action separately on each
Okay.
project. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, before, or maybe Jessica can answer, or Chris, before we have you, remind me where the funds is coming from.
They are budgeted in this fiscal year budget.
Only one of them just come in like $2,000 more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I just want to refresh my old memory.
Let's do a minute. You want to do them individually, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll make a motion. We accept the roof project on the health department, even though the low bid is $2,200 over the budget.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Goins. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
I'll make a motion that we accept the $74,600 bid. In addition to the alternate for the fronts for $8,670. For the windows in the front, yep.
All right, motion by Commissioner Goins. I'll second that, Commissioner Marion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, matter of curiosity here, these bid numbers interest me. The high bid was 192,000. The next bid was 146, and the low bid was 74. Jessica,
Look at the bottom number.
well, and brick replacement, $150 a brick, and then EBS is 27, Triad's 15. How does it make any sense out of this? I mean, one person's bid at 192 and another one's bid at 74,000. One person's bid brick at $150 a piece, and one's bid them at $27 a piece.
It's definitely a very odd time for bidding. But a lot of these contractors have material they bought ahead, seeing that there was going to be an issue with supply. So I think those are the ones you're seeing the lower costs with. And then EBS has done work for us in the past, so we do know.
What does that acronym stand for?
I can't remember rough.
Where are they located?
They are, I don't have that with me. EBS.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't print off the bid form.
Well, I was just curious. I mean, I'm okay with this, but these bid things, they really interest me. I've always thought the government
Which
got to.
triad is that?
Triad Builders of King.
That's okay. That's the local guys.
Yeah. But it is an odd bid world.
Yeah, I
Very.
seem to be, yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next item is a request from the Piedmont Authority for Regional Transportation, or PART, as it's known. I'm gonna try to summarize this the best I can. They're seeking participation from DOT to amend, asking DOT to amend their internal policies related to how they fund recipients of rural funds. So for instance, Wyvetti receives DOT funds for their rural transportation program. As it stands right now, for whatever reason, PART does not qualify for those kinds of funds. For Route 6, which is the PART route that comes up 52 in the Pilot Mountain and Mount Airy and then back into Winston-Salem. They're asking the board to adopt a resolution that would accompany a grant application that they would submit to DOT in early October. And they're also asking DOT to change their policies, internal policies, to allow PART to be a qualified recipient of these funds. And they would use these dollars to expand the frequency of opportunities on Route 6. A number of years ago, because of funding, they had to cut back. And they're making the case that their ridership increases as frequency of trips increases. So the more opportunities people have throughout the day to use the service, their numbers increase. They go down when there are not as many opportunities to use the service.
So all we're doing is giving them permission to apply for a grant.
You're actually approving a resolution that would, see, these funds are allocated by jurisdiction. And so, at some point in the past, you've given Wyvetti the authority to collect those funds that would normally come to Surry County. Wyvetti collects them and uses them for rural routes. Same thing would happen here. My only question would be, is this going to compete with Wyvetti's funds in any ways? Will it cut into Wyvetti's funds? I'm not sure. Hindsight 2020, I wish I'd asked that question prior to the meeting. But he says he needs to submit it in early October, so I think we could definitely do some more fact finding. And I know Commissioner Marion serves on the board at PART, but they're looking. I don't know. Maybe Commissioner Harris was on the board when PART came and asked for a additional, I think it was $3 on the motor vehicle tax in the county to help fund this route. And the county commissioners time said, no, they weren't interested in that. So they've had some options to increase revenue. There's not a transit tax here in the county. So their options are limited, and this is one fund.
Excuse me, but they do get something from rental car fee money.
That's where they would get their primary funds. And of course they can charge their riders, but to me, that's sort of the crux of it. If you look at the resolution, the draft resolution that's here, you're giving them the authority to apply for those funds on your behalf. I just don't know how that's going to shake out. If DOT changes their internal policies and says, yes, you could qualify, the funds they get from the federal government are for urban routes. They can't use those in, say, Surry, Stokes. So it's
Chris, ain't there one more little sentence or two about giving Scott Ryan some authority?
well, it gives him the authority to, as your representative, to apply for those funds, to use them to increase rural routes. So let me do a little more digging into it. And maybe Commissioner Marion can have another conversation with
Got a
him
meeting in the morning.
and we'll report back on the 20th.
I'm good with that. Let's get a little more info.
Sounds good.
All right, final item I have is, the recent meeting, the board surplus a number of properties. One of those was Graham Field in Mount Airy, which is located at 230 Jones School Road. The city of Mount Airy has expressed an interest in acquiring that property. They have utilized it, maintained it for a number of years as part of their recreation programs there in Mount Airy at their expense. And the county, from my understanding, or at least our Parks and Rec staff, have never utilized it directly, at least. I included in your packet statute 160A 274, and you have the option under any terms and conditions you deem wise to with or without consideration, exchange with, lease to, lease from, sell to, or purchase from any other governmental unit, any interest in real and personal property. So you can, exchange this property with Mount Airy for something in return. You can sell it to them. We currently more or less lease it to them. Or they can purchase it from the county. So basically, Hugh Campbell, the city attorney, had reached out to Ed Waltz. And so I was just bringing this to you to sort of maybe get a sense of, since it is in surplus and available for acquisition or for offers at the very least, what would be the Board of Commissioners' preference that he could communicate back to Hugh Campbell related to how you would want to dispose of it if you want to.
I would suggest we'd ask them what they got in mind.
Have them make an offer.
Yeah, see, well, we got something to swap, trade, or what do you want? You want us to pay you to take it? Would you like to give us a little something for it, or?
Didn't say give in that, did it?
No, said acquire.
You can,
Make sure.
you can exchange
Well,
it.
they've been doing the leasing thing for quite some time. And
Yeah, as far back as I can.
yeah, so, I think they'd be interested in making a little offer on it, making an offer on it. Oh, this vital to them, in my opinion.
I wonder, I mean, this involves a bigger conversation about the Family Resource Center, and it's all attached there. And do you want me to report to the board tonight on the discussions at Wyvetti regarding the Family Resource Center in regards to our action
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
in which we surplused it? And Larry, you may want to add in on this. We had a discussion at Wyvetti about the Jones Family Resource Center, and Surry County historically has tried to dispense of any property that we don't need, or if we don't think it's a fit for the county, or if it puts us in competition with private business. We want to get it back on the tax roll, the whole 9 yards. And we tried to do that. And I think we've done a pretty decent job of it. We do have the Jones Family Resource Center, and the board did take action to surplus that property because we felt it didn't fit our, our goals long-term in being in the rental and leasing business and that sort of thing. So we did have a discussion at Wyvetti about it. There's great concern at Wyvetti about, because we were making overtures to Wyvetti if they would be interested in taking that property. And there's great concern on the Wyvetti board about the high maintenance cost of that building. And I think I provided the county manager with some numbers historically on what had been spent on that building, as well as some long-term needs of that building. And Wyvetti was just actually, they didn't know that they were financially capable long-term of maintaining that building. And they were concerned also, if we did do some sort of maintenance fund with them, that could be undone at any time by any board. Obviously politicians come and go, and anybody can unwind that on a 3-2 vote. And as Commissioner Tucker's fond of saying, 3 beats 2 every time. But so I don't think Wyvetti wants it. Do you, Larry?
Well, they had some concerns. 3 or 4 of them sort of said they'd go along with what Eddie and I wanted, but that wasn't the right answer. They just, but a couple of them, one of them was a lawyer, made good sense.
Mhm.
And even Kathy asked her opinion of it. She's afraid of the long term. And she even said, like you just said, politicians can change their mind anytime they want to, they creature boards. But I'm personally, I'm glad we surplused. I don't want to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in an old property. The only thing I'm concerned about is the folks that's there leasing or there for their great service that they do. So regardless of what it is, if they don't want it, I mean, you got to do good business. And I think we're doing good business by surplus. We don't want to invest hundreds of thousands in it to fix it up so Wyvetti can take it. I don't want to spend $100,000 on a year to help Wyvetti out maintain it. I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that's not a done deal, we'll just proceed. But whatever we do, I want to give our tenants up there, Wyvetti's tenants and others give them ample time to relocate.
I was just gonna read,
I'm gonna say that. I don't want to invest.
you want to hear real quick?
What about a proposal, just to think about this? Mount Airy's asked for our thoughts on acquisition, given the proximity to the Graham Field and the building. Let's propose to them. Won't cost them anything for Graham Field. They can just have it in the old building too.
He had already addressed that with them and they declined on the.
Oh, they declined.
I real quick was gonna read the needs in the building currently.
Okay.
The boiler, which was installed in 1984, currently needs repairs, and due to the age of the boiler, it may need to be replaced altogether. Sections of roofing will need replacement in the next couple of years. Underground tanks need to be removed. There's a washout in one corner of the parking lot, which is a safety concern. Driveway parking lot needs to be replaced. We've talked about that recently. The underground pipes are extremely old and have several areas to collapse last year. Boiler pipes, in addition to the boiler, are a concern. A lot of the old windows, if not replaced, need to be sealed and addressed as far as leaking, HVAC issues with leaking. Lower level double doors all need to be replaced. They don't close correctly and most are locked with chains and boards. Flooring in the lower level hallway needs to be replaced. It's old and crumbling in many areas. And actually, one of the biggest concerns is most of the electrical panels are at full capacity. So the electrical system in the building needs to be improved. One thing about the property is it was recently, through the county efforts, added to the National Register of Historic Places, which is a great thing for the property and the history. If it's a private property and someone wants to renovate and fix it up, they can qualify for historic tax credits. But we cannot because we're, not for profit situation. So the property has some marketability. The question would be, is that marketability based on current use or would it be based on some new future use? But that's a pretty long list and that's something they put together pretty quickly. So there could be more to add to it. It does not have any type of central heat or air as well. So that's also an issue.
I don't think that we have to take, my personal opinion is that we don't have to take any action here that, this is something that's going to have to be dealt with, in a slow motion process here because there's folks up there, we have got a lot of things to consider and so I just think we ought to, the property can stay in surplus for, indefinitely without the county dispensing of it. But I think it sends a signal that long-term, Surry County probably doesn't need that facility. That's just my opinion. I don't think the Wyvetti board is interested in it, really.
I like what Commissioner Harris said, but in the meantime, when there's things that happen, our maintenance crew will be called to go over and totally fix it until, as long as we own it.
Correct.
Well, I'm sure they'll be mindful of Commissioner Johnson don't want to spend big bucks up there anymore. Or keeping some patchwork, keeping the boiler or whatever, and have heat this winter or something, I don't want us to, in my opinion, I don't want us to be having to replace roofs and replace floors and put air conditioning in it and all that stuff. I feel like it's done its due. It's time to move on.
Most of the tenants in it, and I don't have that list handy with me, and obviously I think there's someone wanting to lease up there now. they serve the Mount Airy community. This may be something that the city of Mount Airy would be, I mean, I know they don't want it, but they may be able to facilitate a nonprofit or a third-party group or someone in their community that could perhaps take advantage of the tax credits that would be available for that property. It may be, there's a lot of options there, and I don't think we need to get in a hurry to do anything. And I'd encourage Mount Airy to be a part of that conversation, because this serves primarily a lot of folks in the Mount Airy city.
And the proximity to Graham Field, and they've made gestures that they're interested in Graham Field. So I don't think it's out of the question to have that discussion with them. Take it off.
Well, I'm sure y'all aware, you've been up there, but Graham Field is separate on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was just talking about
There's a division.
approximately, yeah.
Commissioner Harris mentioned, we had a group interested in wanting to lease, and it was supposed to be our call. And we haven't made that call. We thought on it, we maybe forgot it, I don't know what, but I think I read an email this past few weeks, maybe addressed to you, Chris, possibly, that they was not having an answer. Is that correct?
Yes, and I told them, once we had some clarity, we'd report back to them, but as long as the property's in surplus,
Okay,
it would be
all right,
unwise to execute any new leases, because
all right.
while, yes, we should hold
Well,
on
that's
to
all-
it,
that's what
we
I'm-
may get an offer in a week or so,
I'm
and,
glad you shared that with me. Okay,
you hate to have someone move in, upfit some space, and then a new owner come along and decide they've got new use and
Okay.
proposed use for it and,
All right.
move on,
In
so.
other words, our plan for the ownership of that building is short term now, not
Well,
long term.
say it's he just reminded me, surplus, we don't, that's
Yeah.
what that's what it's supposed to be.
Graham
Yeah.
Field as well as Jones Resource Center and the Westfield property are all placed in surplus. Westfield pending survey and out the recycling center. So those are all in surplus.
Has that attracted any attention from the public on the Westfield project?
I don't think anybody knows. I mean, unless they've watched these meetings, I don't believe anyone is aware of that.
The man at least from us, I don't know how, I guess that's all still legal, isn't it?
Yeah.
He asked one time about what he think it cost.
Well, what's the process on the surplus property for acquisition, Mr. Mayor?
We await someone to make an offer.
That's
and
incumbent upon him to make an offer.
At the
And
board.
then it would be subject to upset bids 10 days.
Yep,
Right.
that's right.
Well, if we're going to get to facilitate that process, you could put a sign up out there that said available. And that's about all you got to say is give the county number and say available. And that really,
I like that too.
that gets the conversation going fast in a community and tends to drive in more competition in the bidding. So
And advises everybody locally and surrounding and contiguous
Oh, yeah.
properties that they can be bought. Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
the only thing, didn't we say there was an old bell there that come out of a school or something?
Yeah,
And that needs to go to the fire department or somebody there.
well, the county needs to take possession of that and determine where.
Yeah, the bell wouldn't go with the property. Yeah, yeah.
And I like the suggestion of the.
Westfield.
Yeah.
That's the community center now.
No action tonight. Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. We have a request for closed session for personnel after general county commissioner business.
All right, county commissioners, I'm gonna start this out tonight, and I'm gonna give a big shout out to everybody that was involved in the chemical leak Friday night. That could have been deadly. Pine Ridge, Skull Camp, Franklin, White Plains, our EMS, Sheriff Department, Fire Marshal, Emergency Management, and the ultimate tow and cleanup. That could have been very dangerous, guys and gals. But with everyone working together, we averted,
What was the chemical?
uric acid,
Yeah.
hydrochloric acid. Is that same thing?
Did you ever figure out why it just happened to go off there
It just started leaking out of a building.
or what it was doing there?
It's under investigation. And I have one more thing. having Blue Star Memorial Friday morning at 10 o'clock right out here with the Modern Gardeners Garden Club, and in conjunction with Surry County Commissioners, we'll be having that unveiling Friday morning. So spread the word. We'd love to have a lot in attendance to honor our veterans. So Friday morning at 10 o'clock. Anyone else, gentlemen?
I just have a date change. As chairman of the airport authority, September the 23rd is our scheduled board meeting, authority meeting. We with half of us involved in activity all day long, and Mount Airy has Mayberry Days that day. We'd like to move that from the 23rd to the next Thursday, the 30th.
Is that Halloween?
No.
30. Oh, I'm in the wrong. I'm
Well,
in the
we
wrong
can
month.
dress up.
I'm too old to play dress up, Larry.
But we'll get George to bring us a treat.
I'm surprised somebody didn't pick up on that because I play dress up.
Is that okay with the five of y'all?
fine.
That's fine with
All
me.
right, so that's a done deal, Nathan. I've already said something to the Mount Airy Commission. Just make George as aware of us and remind us and all that stuff.
Then next time he's coming in his coon skin hat. and
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Harris, you have anything?
No, I don't have it.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Good. All right. Get a motion.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson to go into closed, seconded by Commissioner Harris. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we reclassify a vacant detention officer position to a detention lieutenant. That would be on an interim basis for 2 years.
Motion by Commissioner Goins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harris. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve assistant county managers to work with social services director on revisions and implementation of the after-hours response plan.
Motion by Commissioner Goins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tucker. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve but not release the May 17th, 2021 closed session minutes.
Motion by Commissioner Goins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tucker. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn. Oh, what you got? What'd I miss?
Christie's.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve assistant county managers to implement salary adjustments for health and nutrition. Those three
Oh,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Goins, second by Commissioner Tucker. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Goins to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harris. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.